Hey, what's up, guys? It's Zito Sports Nation, and I'd say we're back, but Zach, you've been here all along. But I'm back, guys. We're here with another bracketology. We're excited to be back for another one. Life's been a little hectic for me lately, guys. We balancing that life of a student, and I'm coaching a basketball team right now, so there's a lot of stuff going on. But we're here. We're ready for another bracketology, and we're ready to get going, Zach.
Yeah, we are. It has been. It's been weird filming these by myself, but we got Will back. It's gonna be fun right at the right time. We got a lot of good matchups this weekend, and it's just a good time for college basketball.
For sure. And with that in mind, we'll share our screen here and we'll get back to what we do best. And let's get some bracketology going here. And we'll start with our bubble, Zach. And we talked about this team just a second ago with Pitt. And it seems shocking that they're on the last four buys, kind of.
It does, because this Pitt team, they're second in the ACC.
Yeah.
They're only a half game out. And we know the ACC is down a little bit this year, top to bottom. But even with that, I feel like they're undervaluing the ACC a little too much.
Yeah.
I even heard John Shire talk about that. He said they might be undervaluing the ACC a little too much. And I think they are. I think they're a little better league than they're giving credit for, that they're given credit for. And I think the disrespect is being shown with Pittsburgh seed.
I mean, let's just think traditionally. If you think a team is sitting in second place as you're a week out of the conference tournaments in the ACC, you would think they'd be solidly into the tournament by now, right?
Yes, that's a great point.
Here they sit as on the last four buys. So it shows how weird of a year this is. Another team on the last four buys is Memphis. Zach, that's a team we like a lot.
They are. They got Kendrick Davis back against Wichita State a couple nights ago. They got the win on the road, which is always tough to get the win on the road, even against, middle of the pack conference teams like that. But they got the win. They're staying on the right side of the bubble, and hopefully they'll stay healthy down the stretch.
Last Sunday they lost at Houston, but I talked about it with you, and it's kind of just like, you know what? They hung in that game without their best scorer, without their best player. With this Memphis team, you don't know what they could do if they get health. If they have Kendrick Davis for the tournament, there's no reason that they can't beat a 2 seed or a 3. Like, they could make a run.
They definitely could, especially if they get like an 11 seed. It honestly, I'm not going to compare him necessarily to Kemba Walker, but Kendrick Davis could be that type of guy in March. Kendrick Davis has those types of games where he can drop 30 a game. And they have the role players around them, which makes me believe. So I'm with you. They get an 11 seed. They can beat a 6. They could beat a 3.
They could get a little danger, something going into the second week.
It's a team we like, so
we'll see. First four out, sitting there, another blue blood, North Carolina, Zach, and it's opportunity central right now for North Carolina.
It's a huge opportunity against Virginia this week, especially because it's a quad 1 win that they haven't been able to get all year. And the big thing about it is Virginia is not playing very good right now. They just lost a couple of days ago to Boston College. So this is a great opportunity for North Carolina, probably their best opportunity till the end of the season. There's only a couple of games left in the regular season, but this is a huge opportunity in North Carolina. They absolutely need to beat Virginia on Saturday.
It's tight, and it's going to be interesting to see who comes out in that game. But Virginia plays teams tight. It's going to be sitting there at the end. And can the guard play of North Carolina get them over that hump? Can Armando Bacot get them over the hump? Leaky Black has been interesting this year. There's been games where he's figured out how to score the ball actually this year, which has been interesting to see. But we'll see with North Carolina. And the first four out, is there one team there that jumps out to you?
I like how Texas Tech's been playing.
Or next four out, sorry.
I like how Tech's been playing, but the big thing I think is this game New Mexico has, because they started out 14-0 and they were looking really solid for the tournament up until just a couple weeks ago. But they got a huge opportunity against San Diego State on Saturday, and I'd like to see them win because I'd like to see another Mountain West team, a little mid-major action. So I am interested in them for this weekend
for sure. So we'll see. It's going to be interesting. The bubble, as always, it's interesting. I was listening to a podcast the other day, and it was funny. What the joke they made, they said the NCAA tournament committee, they should scrap the top 16 reveal. Everyone kind of knows who those teams are going to be. Show us the bubble. Show us show us this list right here of what they view. That would be interesting.
That would be interesting. I haven't heard of that idea. I actually kind of like that, because the bubble is where we're more often have the confusion at. So I kind of like that.
Interesting twist, maybe down the road, and
maybe they can do both top 16 and bubble. That'd be perfect.
But let's go to our bracket right now, and this is our newest bracketology from Joe Lenardi. And the overall number 1 seed again is Alabama. Let's get Alabama with a win here.
Alabama.
We're for the record right now, we're going to play with Alabama as its roster as it stands right now on Friday, February 24th. Obviously, we all know there's a bunch of stuff up in the air with what that roster is going to look like and what it could look like in March. But as of right now, with the roster, we're going to pick Alabama.
Yeah, I think so. It looks like things might slide by, and Brandon Miller will be okay. We'll see. Like Will said, we'll see. So yeah, we're going to play it. He was amazing on earlier this week. So Alabama's looking good still.
Right now, we got Iowa taking on Nevada. And Zach, do you like the Pack? Do you like the Hawkeyes?
I don't have a great impression on this 8-9 game because Iowa's been struggling here recently. And Nevada, at times looks really good. At times they don't look good. But I'll go Iowa in the fact that I think they have a superstar player in Chris Murray, and those are super important in March to have that superstar to get a bucket, and he can do that. That gives me the most confidence in them.
And it's tough when you got those Mountain West teams of believing in those Mountain West teams, what's going to get done.
Especially coming off a year where they go 0-4 in the first round.
Yeah.
That hurts the confidence a little bit, but
we'll see. Xavier taking on Marshall. Xavier, Zach, is a team you're still high in, right?
Still super high on Xavier. Marshall could be an interesting game, but I think Xavier will be okay there. Xavier hasn't been as good without Fremantle as they were before his injury, but they're still capable of winning this game with or without him.
Miami and Hofstra here, and I like the Canes. Canes are rolling.
Yeah, Canes are rolling. They haven't lost in a while. Canes are first to the ACC. They're looking great. We love the Canes.
Been on them since last year. If you're looking for the biggest Miami fans in the middle of Idaho, that's us, I guess, man. The climate is very similar.
Very similar.
Let's go to here. We got Texas A&M taking on Florida Atlantic. FAU here sitting at an 11.
Yeah, they've been kind of sliding down a bit. But there's no way we could hardly pick against A&M right now with how they've been playing. They've been playing as good as anybody in the country. They're playing more to the expectations early in the year, and they might win the SEC regular season title still. It's up in the air. So yeah, A&M's rolling. They're gonna win that one.
Baylor taking on UC Irvine. Baylor's got a big game this weekend taking on Texas. That's going to be an interesting game, especially coming out of last week where Baylor was up on Kansas at half and then made some adjustments. Kansas did, and they came out with a win. But for Baylor, they're fighting around here trying to get this win. But in terms of the March, they got UC Irvine in this game.
UC Irvine's an interesting team, actually, because we saw how tough I think they only lost by 2 to San Diego State earlier in the year. They've been rolling in the Big West this year. I could see this game being close. This feels like a 14-3. That would be close. It could be dangerous, especially if you get a game where Keontae George goes 3 for 17, and he can do that sometimes with his poor shot selection. Or you see Adam Flagler, he just had a 1 for 11 game recently. Normally he's more efficient than that, but it could be close. But I'm going to say Baylor for this one.
The Bears get a win. Then we got Providence taking on Memphis. In this, I like Memphis, Zach.
It's a tricky matchup because we know how tough Providence is, but I think I like Memphis here too. I just feel like that they're underrated. No one's talking about them.
Arizona taking on Youngstown State. Arizona gets this one?
Yeah, Arizona. Too much length.
But now we got Arizona and Memphis. And it's a good game.
This is a good game.
I just finished talking about how in the bubble talk about how I can see Memphis beating a 2 or a 3. And we have a matchup against a 2 here. I don't know what I like. I like Arizona a lot this year.
Yeah, I think certain 2s and 3s Memphis can beat. I don't think I love this one, though.
Yeah.
I think Arizona's bigs are really good. They got Ballo. They got Tubelis. I don't like this one from Memphis, so I think Arizona.
A&M taking on Baylor. A&M's rolling still, Zach. And if A&M can keep their hot streak going, if they played this weekend, I would like A&M right away. Like, it'd be my right away pick. Just because of how hot A&M is. Now, if you look 3 weeks down the road and you're looking at it, it could be very different, right? You still got the SEC tournament we're going to be talking about, or that they're going to have to go through, and maybe they take a hit early in that. But right now, I kind of like A&M.
I do too. I think, like Will said, it's tough to necessarily project how A&M will look in 3 weeks, but I think we got to, take into account how they're looking this past month and a half, and they look great. So I like A&M.
Xavier taking on Miami, and this is the battle for your heart, Zach. It's almost like it's the new girl versus the old girl here. This is your the team you've kind of been riding with this year versus the team you rode with last year. And
It's
the team from
true.
last year's kind of been hanging around. If you were around Zach, you'd hear his conversations where he still loves Miami. Miami still got a piece of his heart, but Xavier's got that heart now, and you're gonna have to pick right here, and we're gonna hold you to it for the rest of this season. Who are you picking?
No, don't do me like that.
But who do you like?
I think right now it's kind of like this A&M conversation. Miami's looking so good right now, and until Xavier gets Fremantle back, Hunter's been good coming off that 6-man role to be a starter for Xavier. But I think I like Miami. They're looking so good, so many options. Xavier has so many options. I hate that they had to be paired up here, but let's go Miami.
Canes get it right there. Alabama taking on Iowa and Alabama.
I think Bama. I don't think we got 2 superstars, so it's an interesting matchup, Murray versus Miller. But I think Bama has more options around Miller, and they could win. They'd win this game.
Alabama taking on Miami now, and if you make it to this point, the heat is just going to turn up. You can't. It's going to be a storyline. Everything with Brandon Miller for the rest of the season, it is. And if they make it to a Sweet 16, there's going to be so much noise. And that's going to become a factor for Alabama as the tournament gets going of can they tune out the noise.
Mm-hmm.
And you make it to the Sweet 16, that noise is just going to get louder and louder and louder. And the further they go in the tournament, it's going to get louder and louder and louder. And now they're up against a team in Miami where Miami's been playing some good ball. And if they make it to this point, they're continuing to play some good ball. And I kind of like the Canes just because Alabama's going to have to show up. Alabama's going to have to be on in this game. And if any fraction of the talk gets to them, they'd be in jeopardy against Miami.
Yeah, no, that's good points, honestly. Because there is going to be a lot of talk, and Brandon Miller might be accustomed to that talk, and he might be able to handle it. But at the same time, it could probably get to you mentally eventually. But Miami's guards match up really well against Bama overall, as long as they can handle Brandon Miller and limit him to a certain extent. I could see Miami getting by.
Yeah,
I think it's a really good matchup.
I think it's a great matchup too.
It could go either way, but I think Miami, because this year is going to have a lot of upsets.
A&M taking on Arizona, and this one here, what do you like?
I think I like Zona a little bit.
Zona.
I think they got a heck of a coach in Tommy Lloyd.
Yeah.
I think Kirk Creasy will be an X factor in a game like that. As long as he limits his turnovers, takes smart shots, really dishes the ball, be a provider for good shots, I think they could win.
Okay, now Miami finds itself in back-to-back Elite Eights, according to this bracket. And that would be a year for Miami. Or back-to-back years? That'd be something.
It would be something.
Can they get over the hump this year?
I'm gonna say no, they cannot.
No, they cannot.
I'm going to say back-to-back Elite Eight, similar to what Arkansas has done last couple of years. They get there, they make runs, but they can't get over that hump.
They can't make it to the third week. But we got Arizona as our first team in our Final Four now. We got Purdue taking on Morehead State versus Alcorn State, and I like Purdue right away.
Yeah, I like Purdue.
Kentucky versus Boise State. Here you got an interesting matchup of a traditional blue blood, a powerhouse university brand as big as any in college basketball, taking on Boise State, who Boise State's trying to get that first win in March.
They are still trying.
That is.
And this is a terrible matchup for them.
Yeah.
It's terrible. Especially when you take into account Boise State's tallest player is 6'7". That starts. And you're facing up against Oscar Tshiebwe, who's 7 foot, 240, absolutely ripped. Not the most skilled at finishing, but with a body like that, I feel for the Boise State fans out there.
I'm curious where this game is getting played. Keep going, Zach.
I feel for you if you're a Boise State fan. You want that first win. Oh, and it's a big time home advantage for Kentucky. They're definitely going to travel to Columbus for this one. Kentucky, I think, without too much issue. But I like this Boise State team. It's just a tough matchup for them.
Yeah. Creighton taking on VCU here. VCU getting the bid out of the A-10.
Yeah, a really down year for the A-10 this year. Yeah. It's actually a couple of years in a row now of some down years.
Give me a quick summary. We were listening to the radio. So little behind the scenes. Last weekend, me and Zach were in Canada, back where I'm from in Calgary, Alberta. So we were there and we were driving back on Monday. We were listening to the radio and John Rothstein did a radio hit and he talked about the A-10 and how the A-10's only getting one team in. Looks like this tournament and the struggle they're kind of facing right now. Zach, give us a 20-second, 30-second summary of the argument that Rothstein made. for them.
Yeah, Rothstein, he says that what the A10 needs to do is they're doing an 18 game schedule, and he says they need to cut back to a 16 game conference schedule, I should say. 16 game conference schedule like West Coast Conference does and a couple other smaller mid-major conferences do, in an effort to schedule harder non-conference games to get more opportunities to get those quadrant one wins that you so desperately need. He thinks that's what they need to do, and I completely agree with that, because the A10, when they went to this 18 game schedule, has not had the opportunities, and it's hurt them.
So, but back to it was really interesting to hear Austin talk about it. If you can find, I don't know if it's on the internet somewhere, if you can find him talk about it, it was super interesting. But to this matchup, VCU gets the bid for the A10 here, and they take on Creighton, but Creighton's a team that we like. Creighton's good.
They're good. This isn't a vintage VCU team. I think Creighton wouldn't have too much of an issue.
Virginia taking on Utah Valley here, and the Wolverines.
The Wolverines. You know what? As bad as Virginia's playing, we're bound to see upsets. This one seems destined to possibly be an upset. Yeah. Let's go with the Wolverines.
Provo's going to be dancing this year, but not for BYU. If you've ever been to Utah, you'd see how close the two campuses are. Utah Valley University is practically right next door to the BYU. So it would be funny to see. Usually Utah Valley's left sitting there watching as BYU gets to go dancing and gets to go party, but roles are going to be reversed probably this year.
They probably are.
So that'll be funny to see. But Provo's going to have some representation the second weekend.
Let's go.
San Diego State taking on West Virginia here, and press Virginia, or do you like the stout defensive? West Virginia wants to get you going, press, get that pace up to a speed so they can like force some chaos, right? They want to play quick. San Diego State wants to slow that game down.
They do.
They want to keep it under 70.
Yeah, this year they've finally shown an ability to score over 70 on some occasions, but they've also shown some ability to win the 45-43 game like they did against Fresno State the other day. It's a coin flip game for me. This is 6-11 where it is dead even, I think. We haven't had a Mountain West team win yet. I think this is
our one. They get our win. They get their win. All right. We got Tennessee taking on Eastern Washington, and Eastern Washington's still the longest win streak in college basketball, or Division I college basketball right now for men's. And they're taking on Tennessee. What do you like?
It's tough because Eastern Washington, they don't get to play the athletes that Tennessee has. And
Eastern Washington's got to go into the Mighty Reed gym this weekend. Look and tell Idaho.
That's true. Eastern Washington, I thought about this upset earlier, and I told Will I was leaning towards it, but I think about it more and more. And I think the athletes Tennessee has, I don't think Eastern Washington to be able to get into the 80s like they're used to getting into against these Big Sky teams. I thought about it. I don't see it happening as much. Too much athletes. They're too big and long on this Tennessee team outside of Zakai Ziegler, who's tiny.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, Tennessee's got.
How many years ago was that tight game that Eastern Washington had with Kansas?
That was just 2 years ago, 2021. Yeah. So, there is a chance. Yeah. We're not ruling this out. It could be close, and we definitely could see Eastern Washington upsetting somebody.
Yeah.
Because that's a good point. Eastern Washington did almost upset Kansas. Gave them a run for their money.
Let's go here. We got the 7-10. We got Michigan State taking on Pittsburgh. And Pittsburgh's the team we just talked about in the bubble, talking about how we're shocked that they're on the bubble. To me, that your second place in the ACC, as much as I like to dog on the ACC in some of our other videos, and as much of a Big 12 guy as I am, at the exact same time, it's still the ACC. You're not talking about a conference like the West Coast Conference. You're not talking about the A10. You're not talking about the Mountain West. You're talking about a conference as a Power 5 conference that has good teams in it, that there are ranked teams below Pittsburgh in the ACC standings.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But Pittsburgh's still getting dogged, kind of.
Yeah, I think we go ahead and we give Pitt their first tournament win in quite a few years, and several years now, and we got Pitt moving on.
Mm-hmm. Kansas State taking on Vermont, and the Wildcats get it too.
Yeah, I was kind of surprised. I mean, they've won a couple games in a row, and they do have a great resume. I'm happy they moved up, and I think they get by Vermont. But what could be an interesting 15-2 matchup. I don't know if this is a vintage Vermont team though, because Vermont's had some good teams. I don't know this team as well. as I've known some Vermont teams in the past. But let's go Kansas State.
K-State taking on Pittsburgh here, and is Manhattan dancing?
Manhattan's dancing. We're getting into the Sweet 16.
Let's send it. It's a good story there, with Kansas State with their transfer from Florida.
Yeah, Keontae Johnson, first-year head coach. It is a good story. Kansas State's had a heck of a year.
San Diego State taking on Tennessee now, and Tennessee struggles to score the ball.
Yeah,
and San Diego doesn't let you score the ball.
My first impression is to go with San Diego State here.
Yeah.
A 6-3. Tennessee has had a lot of struggles in the tournament in the past. They really haven't been able to, they didn't get out of the first weekend last year. They don't get far in the tournament that often, Sweet 16 sometimes. I like San Diego State.
I'm going to hope Trey Sean doesn't view it this far in our video. But it feels like we're due eventually for a San Diego State run, maybe just to the second weekend. But they're always around there. And it feels like just to the second weekend. We're not talking a Final Four or anything like that. But
I'm with you on that. I think they kind of are due. I think they are due for that.
We got Creighton taking on Utah Valley. And I think the Wolverines are done here.
Yeah, I do too. I don't think too much discussion is needed. I think Creighton would win.
Kentucky and Purdue. This one's interesting. Edey doesn't have an advantage. Oh, he's got an advantage in terms of mobility, probably.
Yeah, and he's got some height on him still, but that advantage isn't as great as he normally has. It's not the same advantage.
You're gonna have to push Sheboy in the pick and roll and make Sheboy have to move and defend. Edey's gonna have to cut. He's not gonna just be able to sit there and just try and body down low.
Yeah, it's true. If you have a feel here, I went with Kentucky over Purdue last time, as I told you, and you might have saw. If you have a feel, I'd go with it. I think this is a close game, a really good 8-1 matchup.
I think it's a really good 8-1 matchup. I think Kentucky's playing better. I think everyone's kind of still bought into that idea of Kentucky sucks. Like, they're not good. And they're starting to turn the corner a little bit. They're playing better ball. They're not Kentucky. They're not. Like when I say Kentucky, they're not like your traditional, when you think of the Kentucky brand, that's not who this Kentucky team is necessarily. But they're not as bad as people dog on them and joke about them being at the same time. But in this matchup, I think just the mobility of Zach Edey leans well in the matchup for him against Sheboy, just because I don't know how mobile Sheboy necessarily is. And if Edey can make Sheboy have to run the floor with him, it could be trouble. And I don't know how many minutes you're going to get out of Sheboy. And so I'd go Purdue, maybe.
Okay, we can do Purdue. Purdue's definitely put together a more full season this year. Kentucky's just playing really better of late.
Yeah.
But yeah, let's go Purdue.
Purdue and Creighton here, and you're gonna want Creighton right away, right?
I would lean Creighton for sure here, because I think we're talking another good battle of the bigs between Kalkbrenner and Edey, and I think
similar bigs.
And Creighton, they're playing. Obviously, they've been a lot better these last since Big East play, and I do like Creighton here. And I talked about it in a video before. I don't think this is gonna be where you're gonna see a lot of 1 seeds making it super far. You might see 1, maybe 2 go far. It's not gonna be a 1 seed running rampant in this tournament.
For sure. So we got Creighton here. We got San Diego State taking on K-State, and 2 teams that, when's the last time either of them made an Elite 8? Do you know?
I do not know.
It's been a long time, probably.
Yeah.
Nothing jumps to the top of our heads.
It's been a while since.
But
I don't know what I like there. We can go Kansas State for the special season they've had.
Yeah, I like it. Give them something to go with. And at the same time, you're coming off a weekend. You're going into the second week now, and this is when some magic gets to run off a little bit, right? That's the thing with March Madness. It is such a daunting task of, you get that high, you get 2 games, you get a high, and then you got to sit for a couple of days before you get to go again, right?
Yeah.
And so with that in mind, San Diego State's gonna have to sit for a little bit.
Yeah, they are. How do you feel about this Kansas State Creighton game? The only thing I can think, I had Creighton in the Final Four this last time, and I could see it again, of course, because I think there's more options to score the ball in this Creighton team. But at the same time, Kansas State keeps racking up these wins in the Big 12. They're 9-6 now in the Big 12, which is toughest conference in America. So I think I'm gonna lean. I think I'm leaning Creighton, but I could also, if you're feeling Kansas State, we could do that.
I can go Creighton. Definitely. I get concerned with Creighton a little bit sometimes just because I've seen games when I've watched Creighton where, their scoring can run dry a little bit for a little bit of a stretch, which concerns me sometimes with Creighton. But I can go Creighton here.
Okay. Creighton again. Creighton in the Final Four.
We got over to here and we got KU taking on
Corpus Christi.
Corpus Christi.
Yeah, KU. They're looking best resume in the country.
We got Arkansas and Illinois. Zach, let's send Illinois here just for the sake of setting up in Illinois, Kansas.
Okay, I like that.
Just for the sake of setting up Illinois, Kansas, and to tear at your heartstrings a little bit.
It would be tough for me.
Let's go St. Mary's and Drake here, and it's a 5-12. And our pre-talks, you viewed this one?
I love Drake. I absolutely love Drake. I like St. Mary's too. I think St. Mary's is tough, but I love Drake. I think they do not get talked about enough at all. They haven't lost a game in February. I think they beat Mississippi State early in the year, and they beat another Power 5 team early in the year as well. I love this Drake team. I think they can beat St. Mary's in a tough, dog it out type of matchup.
The Bulldogs.
Yeah, exactly. And it's the Bulldogs.
The Bulldogs, get it. UConn taking on Iona, and the Fighting Rick Pittinos are here, taking on the Huskies.
Yeah, it's a good Northeastern battle. I like the Huskies here.
Yeah,
I like the Huskies.
TCU and Wisconsin or Mississippi State.
TCU versus either of those teams. Mississippi State beat TCU early in the year, but that was just because Mike Miles was in. He was out. He got hurt early in the game. That wouldn't happen with Mike Miles healthy.
My concern with TCU as we get going in this tournament, there's a constant thing. Mike Miles getting hurt a little bit this year. He's been nicked up a couple of times.
Yeah. He should be okay though. They're saying he's almost back fully healthy. Like the knee is looking good, so I think he should be okay. But
it's something to keep an eye on. You get this war of attrition though as the tournament gets going. So Gonzaga taking on Colgate here, and the Dogs.
Yeah, Gonzaga.
Maryland and Auburn, and do I dare ask you what you think here?
Yeah, Maryland's playing great, and I never believe in Auburn. So let's go Maryland.
UCLA taking on Samford here.
UCLA. Yeah, UCLA shouldn't have an issue there.
UCLA taking on Maryland. This is a game that we saw earlier this year, and it was a 27-point drumming by UCLA.
It was. This Maryland team is better than they were then, but I don't think they're like that. I think UCLA would still be able to beat them again. I think it's probably a matchup issue thing for Maryland.
Mm-hmm. TCU taking on Gonzaga, and we got the Horned Frogs taking on the Dogs. Football, TCU lost to some Dogs. Is the season going to end to Bulldogs again, or do you see Gonzaga falling in 32?
And I don't know what I like here. Is there something if you go with your gut here, and we'll go with it because I think it's too even.
It's coin flip.
We have a Gonzaga shirt right here.
We've shown some love to the Big 12 this year, and we're going to continue to show Big 12 love throughout this video. Gonzaga.
Okay.
Let's send it in the mix. The West Coast Conference took a hit with St. Mary's. Let's give them a little bit of love. Let's give them Gonzaga here.
Right, good call.
Drake taking on UConn, and you know how tempted I am just to send Drake through here and then Kansas through here to set up the Joseph Yesufu revenge game.
Let's actually do that because I could, and not even just to be crazy, it could happen. And I want to see the Yesufu revenge game. Let's go Drake over UConn. Drake can do it too. They can do it. They're capable. Amazing. And then Kansas over Illinois. Kansas is just a lot more consistent. Illinois has talent, but you saw last night in the Northwestern game, Illinois had a horrendous first half and an amazing second half. You just never know what you're going to get from Illinois. Let's go Kansas, Drake.
We're not going to make you sit there and talk about KU Illinois for too long. I don't want you to have to pick apart Illinois.
There's too much.
And it's the scar tissue damage there, man. Kansas taking on Drake. And as I talked about the Joseph Yesufu revenge game, and well, guess what? We get a whole week to talk about it too.
That's true.
Because we'll get the break in between these games, and the media is going to talk about it for sure. You know that'll get even though Yesufu gets select minutes.
I'm about to say, I
he's getting more minutes. He's getting minutes this season compared to last year. Yeah. Well, a dead cat could have got the same amount of minutes as Yesufu did last season, but true.
But if you guys remember, Yesufu had those sensational games. He had the 2 great games in March Madness in 2021. So, but it would end here for Drake. We love Yesufu. Yesufu, I think, gets 10 points in this game.
Yeah, I think yes. Yeah, I think Yesufu gets some minutes.
He gets minutes?
think Bill Self feels it in his heart. He's like, you know what? I know this is March Madness, but this is Joseph Yesufu's time. He lets Yesufu cook. Let Joseph cook.
And I think Yesufu drops 10.
He goes off for 10, and KU gets to win. Gonzaga taking on UCLA here, and a battle of West Coast teams.
A tough one. I like Gonzaga right now because they don't have that pressure. I don't feel like they don't have the pressure that they've had, and we've seen several. Because me and we'll catch some UCLA games late at night, so we'll catch quite a bit of UCLA games. And
watched them last night.
And down the stretch, I mean, they're not a bad team. It's just like sometimes like they won't score for just minutes on end, and that's concerning.
I mean, Utah did not look good.
No, and Utah didn't look good, and they weren't scoring for large points of that game. Now they still went on the road and conference got
Homie
win,
went up and got stuffed by the rim on a dunk, Zach. It was bad.
It was bad, but yes, we'll have Gonzaga over UCLA there, and then
KU Gonzaga.
I like Kansas over Gonzaga. I don't think Gonzaga is good. They're not great. I like Kansas.
14 quad one wins. That's all I'll say. I was listening to what's his name, Sean.
Sean Farnham.
Farnham. After the KU TCU game on Monday night, he's talking about how can the committee just you got 14 quad one wins. It's tough not to make KU the number 1 overall seed. Now it's true, like 14 quad one wins. So that's interesting. It all depends on stuff, but that's a lot of quad.
It's a lot. It's historical amount of quad one wins for this point in the year. And maybe even by the end of the tournament, 14 is impressive. So Kansas has several more opportunities to pick up more down the stretch.
So KU gets this one. They're good. They're good this year. They are a serious threat, and just to run it back.
They are.
Houston taking on UNC Asheville and the Cougars. NC State taking on Rutgers. Rutgers is a team we've liked a little bit. They've been a quiet team that's been getting better through the past couple of years in the Big Ten. And they're starting to become a staple, but
they're struggling of late, and they struggle to score the ball. We talk about long stretches without scoring the ball sometimes. Rutgers really falls victim to this. NC State's a team that can score the ball, and they don't turn the ball over very much at all. Really good guards. DJ Burns good. NC State, I think, gets by that one pretty easily.
Indiana taking on Oral Roberts. And if you watched our videos, Oral Roberts is one of those higher seeds that we tend to pick in some upsets. Here they're taking on Indiana.
And I think, the more I think about it, Oral Roberts is a 7'5" center.
Mm-hmm.
And they have one of the best guards in the nation in Max Asmus and some good role players like Connor Jurgens. I think Oral Roberts can beat Indiana. We've picked them a couple of times in the past. And this feels like this matchup especially feels like one that could get again.
Roll the dice again with Oral Roberts, and we'll go with that. Iowa State taking on Yale and the Ivy Leagues, maybe.
The Ivy Leagues can cause issues in March. Do we want to see a little chaos in this quadrant, or do we want to be settled down and go with the?
We've had some chaos throughout all the quadrants, or throughout all the throughout the rest of the bracket. I think we just roll with it again.
Roll Yale over Iowa State.
Let's have a 13-12. Why not? Why not? It's possible.
It is.
When we make these videos, and we base these bracketologies, we talk about how a lot of the time we're just picking something that is possible, and sometimes you just got to roll with those
because there's so much risk. Yeah, there's so much unpredictability to it, and we've seen some 13-12 face off. I think it's happened 4 or 5 times. So. Sometimes, especially, I don't know, well, maybe it won't happen. Maybe it seems too destined to, but I think this tournament's just going to be chaotic with the upsets. So, I think, we have it here. Upset City.
Okay. We're talking upsets. We're still talking pre-video, when we were going over our bracket, the initial reaction and thought was we're going Oak State here in the 6-11. Now are we going to reel this in here, or are we going to just keep the train rolling?
Let's do Northwestern's good, but let's just keep it going. Oak State over USC, and then Oak State over Northwestern.
This is the chaotic region here, guys. That's all we'll say. Marquette taking on Toledo, and I think it settles down.
The upset settles down.
Settles down.
Marquette
We're
wins.
rational. We are rational. Marquette gets that win here. We got Duke taking on Missouri. Mizzou,
They're having a good year, but I like the way Duke's been playing recently.
yeah.
I think Duke's playing good recently. I like Duke.
Texas taking on Kennesaw State. Texas.
And then I like Texas here as well. You've been a big
Have
fan
they
of
played
Texas.
this year?
No, they haven't played this year.
Okay.
But I like this for Texas here. Not
Yeah.
out of their own possibility for Duke.
It's not out of their own possibility. It is possible for Duke to win that game. I think Duke's starting to slowly and surely get themselves put together a little. Again, it's the same thing I said about Kentucky is the same thing with Duke. This isn't Duke. Like when you think of the big brand, the big like just presence that you're walking out to the court against, this isn't that.
No, and what's helped Kentucky and Duke is they struggled their role. Both those teams, they figured out their roles. And that's been huge because for a while, both of those teams didn't have their roles really in place.
That's going to take place in Denver. So that'll be interesting to see. But the nice thing is Texas travels too.
Yeah, both of those teams travel well. So
we'll see. We got Marquette taking on Oak State here. And Marquette.
I think Marquette, they put together a really good year. Let's go Marquette.
Are they leading the Big East still?
Leading the Big East. Actually, I think they're up a game and a half now, I think.
Okay. Oral Roberts and Yale in that 12-13 matchup we talked about earlier. Does Oral Roberts dance?
Yeah, Oral Roberts, baby. They're tough.
Did they make a 16?
Yeah.
They
made the 16, and they lost to Arkansas by 2 to get to the Elite Eight.
They do it again. Houston taking on NC State, and in the region of chaos,
the chaos keeps going. And this is the 40th anniversary of when NC State beat Houston in that 1983 championship game. One of the best college basketball documentaries is about that NC State team. So I'm sure some of you guys have seen it, that 30 for 30, survive in advance. And this is going to be a tie back to them. They're going to do it. They're going to beat Houston again.
Let's keep it rolling. We got NC State again against Oral Roberts and
NC State, baby.
State.
That's a team we love. NC State. They're a talented team. They are capable of a run like this.
Marquette taking on Texas here, and
don't have a strong feeling either way. They're matched up well, but I do feel like Texas is a little bit more talented personally.
Yeah.
But
yeah,
and I know you know
I like both teams a lot. And I've been on Texas since the start of the year.
So we'll go Texas.
Yeah, I've been on Texas since the start of the year with our predictions video. I fell off. I was curious what they're going to look like without Chris Beard. But they've held strong. And now we got Texas versus NC State. And Zach, in my return to videos, in my return to the Z-Dub Sports Nation audience, I was on NC State at the start of the year.
Yep.
Since the Bahamas, I've been on NC State.
And
and
we, off camera, we talk about this NC State team because we talked about them right after the Bahamas. Me and Will did. We got Will. We had a long conversation. We started talking about them. We talk about them constantly. So I think because we need to show the faith we have in NC State and how much we like this team, I think we send them to the Final Four.
Let's go Pack.
And it's the region of chaos.
It's the region of chaos. It's my return to videos. There's no better way to cap it off than with NC State getting it done. We got NC State getting that win. And now, similar last year. All right, you know what? This is just playing out similar storylines to how last year played out, which is why this gives me faith that this could actually work out this way, is because we got now NC State and Kansas. Last year, if you remember our videos, our official video, we had Kansas and Miami matchup. We rode with Miami last year. And if you know our channel, you know me and Zach. KU is the team Zach and I ride with. We're big Jayhawk guys. And now we have the new team that we've been riding with this year matched up against our love again.
And last year in our, like you said, in our official bracket, we went with Miami.
We got one a little crazy, too far.
One too far. We had a great prediction in the tournament. We knew how good Miami was, but we went one too far. This year, we're going to make the right call in our bracketology, and we're going to have Kansas beating NC State.
Kansas beating NC State. At the end of the day, if we're wrong on that. Dang. But It's good for NC State. I believe in the Pack this year, man. They do. I really and honestly do.
They just need the right matchups. They just need the right matchups, and they're tough.
Arizona taking on Creighton.
And this is interesting. I think Arizona can beat Creighton here. They beat them earlier in the Maui by 3. I think it was 90-87. Arizona's both these teams are tough, but I like it. I want to see Arizona. I think it sets up an interesting matchup here between Arizona and Kansas.
Okay, Zach, do we have Bill Walton's prophecies coming true with the Conference of Champions, or do we have back-to-back?
Oh my gosh, we haven't seen back-to-back since the 06-07 Florida team, and we haven't seen a Pac-12 team win the championship since 1997. So we're going to see in this bracket something that hasn't, happened in a long time. And if we're just gonna take all that out and strictly go off who's better at the game of basketball, I think Kansas is the better team. And what I really it comes down to me, because there's great players on both sides of this, it simply comes down to DeJuan Harris is an amazing decision maker, and he doesn't turn the ball over. Kerr Kriisa can be a poor decision maker, and he turns the ball over too much in bad shot selection. I think that's the X factor, and I think Kansas would win.
Yeah, I like KU, man. There's something special going on in Lawrence right now. You look back, you date back to their tournament win last year. They won the NCAA tournament. Look at their football, man. They made a bowl this year. That doesn't happen.
No, it doesn't.
KU and Lawrence, it's
a good time.
Quietly a good time. Now, for most people, it's not a winning football season until you make like a college football playoff or something. But making a bowl for Kansas is a winning football season, man.
That's huge.
And I think the Magic carries. Let's carry the Magic. KU gets it.
Let's give
us a score. Give us a score.
Be high scoring, I think. Fairly high scoring.
77-73. 77-73. The Kansas Jayhawks cut the Nets down this year in
what would be this would be an interesting bracketology, especially this region.
What? It's fun though, guys. It's fun. It's nice to be back with you guys. Like we said, we're hoping to have me back more often. I'm busy. I got a bunch of stuff going down right now, but we're going to be here. Zach's done a great job holding down the fort. Hopefully you guys like this video.
Yeah, it was a bit of a longer one for us, but I'm glad it was. We needed to talk about it a lot. And going into these next, we're going to have conference tournament videos. I think we'll probably be in some of them. And then we're probably going to have hopefully just some matchup videos as well once the tournament gets going, things like that, what we're looking forward to. Some more bracketology as well. So we're going to try to get out a lot more videos. I'll get out some, Will be in some of them. So, but yeah, thank you guys.
Enjoy, guys. Like, subscribe, get on with us, guys. We're getting ready for the best time of the season.
Oh yeah. Conference tournaments technically start in a few days.
Enjoy, guys. Take care.